Now we know David got his head ripped off by an engineer, and Shaw, with no experience with androids, puts him back together again, coupled with David going 10 years without maintenance. Well, you can see how some screws might be loose. And if you watch the movie, David was not all there. He tells a bold-faced lie about Shaw's death to the Covenant crew, among other things, kissing Walter and Daniels, mourning over the death of Shaw, who he supposedly killed, and when he recalls the incident when he supposedly killed the engineers, he quotes the Ozymandias poem and says Byron wrote it 1818 when it was actually Shelley.
When one note is off, it eventually destroys the whole symphony, David.
Exactly. David has screws loose. If you watch the movie, you realize that he's not the same David as we saw in Prometheus. It's just not the same. Now, from what we know of the pathogen, it doesn't kill you outright, but it does change you into a raging monster. You won't turn into a xenomorph, but you will change somewhat and become extremely violent. Take Fifield, for example. Face first in it. Got a whole bunch in his mouth and all over his face. He's still alive, but deformed, and he became a raging lunatic. The worms were soaking in it. They were soaking in it. Did they die? No, they didn't die. They bathed in it and got bigger and stronger, completely changed. Not like Fifield, he did not bathe in it, so he turned out different. Now, the engineers were supposedly bathed in the pathogen, absolutely soaked, and they died? Now, if you want to refer to the black goo at the beginning, when you saw the engineer take it and he disintegrated, well, how come the engineers didn't disintegrate? How come they look petrified? They look like they're petrified. If you know anything about the black goo, it doesn't do that to you. So if you want to refer to the black goo from the beginning, let's take Fifield again for an example. He got some in his mouth. How come he didn't disintegrate? The worms were bathing in it. How come they didn't die? You understand? So obviously the black goo is different, and it doesn't kill you outright. And it doesn't petrify you because they look petrified. If you look at the engineers, they look petrified, like they're frozen in time. If you know anything about the pathogen, it doesn't do that to you. So obviously something happened. There was some other weapon that was used. So David's recollection is off, completely off. He did not kill the engineers. And if he did kill the engineers, it wasn't in that manner. So the whole events of the engineers was a lie. Like he lied basically all throughout that movie. It was hilarious. He lied all throughout that movie. And as I said, if the pathogen was used on the engineers, there would be a whole bunch of raging monsters all over the place. They would still be alive, and they would be just there'd be so many problems for David if he used the pathogen on them because they would still be alive, as I've proven in Prometheus. Okay, he did not kill them through the pathogen. It's just not possible.
Perfectly said. Now, sure.